Senator, you have given so many years to public service. What are you looking to do now going forward?
I'm coming back to Wisconsin, where I've always lived. Actually, I've spent more time here than in Washington during my time of being a senator. But I have lots of interests here, both in the public and in the private.
So you plan to remain active?
Oh, very active, yeah.
Great.
I feel good. I've had 24 great years of service, people all over Wisconsin.
Is there anything in particular that you will always remember about the
All these
career in Senate?
contacts, all these wonderful people from every part of the state, and from every different kind of interest, whether it's business or labor or education or healthcare or environment, agriculture. I've interacted with people and tried to help them regardless of politics.
All right, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Kathy Myers, and I am with the Rock County Dems and with Democracy Rock. And I told you guys, no, to you, because you're all out here and you're all getting out the vote and working tirelessly, or maybe a little tired, I don't know, for all these people, for Rob Zerban, Tammy, for the president, for all of our assembly candidates. I have the distinct pleasure today of introducing Rob Zerban, who is going to replace Paul Ryan, who is kind of been the bane of our existence here in Janesville for a long time. So, Rob, it's up to you.
Thank you very much, Ken. Well, thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. We got wonderful weather to go out and do some canvassing to make sure that we get the president reelected, Tammy Baldwin reelected, and get rid of Paul Ryan. Thanks. Now, it is really a pleasure for me to be here because when I first looked at getting in this race, one of the first people that I talked to was from the Wisconsin delegation was Tammy Baldwin, who has been a wonderful, outstanding public servant as our congressman serving Madison, the District 2. And when I talked to her, she said, Rob, serving as a congressperson is the greatest honor in the world. You can positively impact millions of people's lives with good legislation. And we've seen her be a champion for the working families across Wisconsin and across the whole country. So I'm looking forward to making sure that she's our next senator from the state of Wisconsin. And it is my distinct pleasure to give an introduction to our current senator, our beloved Senator Kohl. Who has not only been a role model and an inspiration to me through his outstanding public service over the past years. So, Senator Kohl.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you very much, Rob. And really, along with the rest of us, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be in your presence here this morning to advocate for the things that are important in our society and the people who are responsible for getting it done. This is a very important election. As we all know, it will stand for a generation as a standard and the example of what we're trying to get done in our country. And there are two different visions with respect to those people who are running, depending upon which party they come from. And Rob Zerban, as well as Tammy Baldwin, represent a way of thinking that we all agree with and that we're convinced is extremely important for our country. They're focused on building a middle class, seeing to it that we do the right job at educating our children, seeing to it that people are provided with health care. Retirement security is enormously important. With the squeeze that is emerging in our society, has been now for decades, on people's everyday wages, which we're not accepting, they have less and less opportunity to save the money and to take care of themselves when they retire. And that's why Social Security and Medicare are extremely important. That is a must for people in our society, not only, of course, now and in the years past, but in the years going forward. People in our country have to know that if they work hard and do the right thing, and they're not able, and through no fault of their own, to save enough money and take care of themselves and their family in retirement, and then we'll have Social Security and Medicare. Well, there's a tremendous difference between, again, where we're coming from and where the opposition is coming from. They want to privatize Social Security. They want to make Medicare a voucher system, all of which will create tremendous level of uncertainty on the part of people now as they transition from the work into the retirement part of their life. So for all the reasons, this is an extremely important election. We emphasize education. We know how important education is. We know how important good teachers are. And you can't just talk about, you have to be willing to fund it. If you're not willing to fund it, then you really are talking just an empty game. Well, we mean what we say. We know education is the future of our country. That if we expect our young people to take their places in society and earn a decent living, they have to be well educated. It doesn't happen magically. You have to be willing, to put that in your budget, to emphasize it, talk about it, and to make those kinds of investments. We emphasize things like infrastructure. A modern economy cannot function without infrastructure, and on and on and on. That's what we stand for. And the other side doesn't talk much about it, doesn't do that much about it. So there is a tremendous difference this year in this election, and we have to see to it that our side wins. And before I introduce Tammy, Wisconsin is going to be not only a battleground state, it may be the battleground state. It may be the state that determines the election. We don't know. It could well be. It's not implausible that Wisconsin will be the state that decides who's the next president, who's the next senator from Wisconsin, and then who gives how that senator gets the Democrats their majority in the Senate. That's how important this is. And Rob Zerban is an outstanding fellow. And he looks like a guy who can do the impossible. You're a great guy.
Thank you, Senator.
I think you're going to win. So I'd like to introduce Tammy Baldwin now. I know her very well. I've worked with Tammy now for well over a decade. I know her from up close. I know how capable she is, how competent she is, now how experienced she is. I know what her values are. Well, we all know what her values are. How she stands for the things that we know are important. We don't know that about her opposition at all. But we do know that about Tammy. And she's just coming into her prime in terms of her ability to serve. We don't have to worry about, how does Tammy continue to serve for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? We know she's there, capable, qualified, and wanting to serve the people of Wisconsin, which she will. She will do these things. And so I put my stamp of approval on her, and in doing so, I want to say this. I've always been known as your senator, and nobody's senator but yours. I've run on that slogan for all these 24 years, meaning my interests have always been exclusively centered on you and the people of Wisconsin without any conflicts, period, which has been true. And I put a patent on that, nobody's senator but yours. Nobody can just take it, but I can confer it. And I'm conferring that on Tammy Baldwin.
Just an amazing thing you just heard in that introduction, and Senator Kohl calls it a slogan, but he has earned those words every day he has served the state of Wisconsin. I feel so lucky to have him here on the campaign trail with me today. Rob, you've been doing a fabulous job, and Senator Kohl is right when he talks about the crossroads we're at the nation and the difference between what you're fighting for, what I'm fighting for, what President Obama is fighting for, and the agenda of each of our opponents. And I just want to say a few things about that. I've had the honor of traveling the state on the campaign trail. And there are two things that come up over and over again no matter where I go. One is the very real struggles of the people of our state economically. There's the overused expression, but I'll overuse it a couple more times, that if you work hard, play by the rules, you ought to be able to get ahead. But what I hear from our fellow citizens is that they are working hard, they are playing by the rules, and they're just getting by. And it's not our work ethic that's changed. Wisconsin workers can outcompete anyone in the world. So I submit it's the rules. It's the rules. And in many ways, an election gets boiled down to this idea of who writes the rules and to whose benefit. And I'm going to return to that in a second. But the second thing that I hear, no matter where I travel in the state of Wisconsin, is just such an absolute frustration with the disconnect between what people are seeing being debated, particularly in the Tea Party-dominated House of Representatives right now, and their own real lives. They see the nation almost default on its debt obligations last summer. They see the credit rating of our nation go down over partisan gains. It didn't have to be this way. We didn't have to be facing a fiscal cliff. We didn't have to be facing 2 threatened closures of the federal government in the last year. We didn't have to have 30-plus separate votes on repealing part or all of the new Affordable Care Act. But you all know that those are the debates that were happening in Washington while people in Wisconsin were struggling. And it gets down to the fact that in this election, whether it's for House of Representatives or for U.S. Senate, the people of the state simply want somebody who's going to go there and fight for them. Not for, yeah. Not for Wall Street and the big banks, not for the big pharmaceutical companies, not for the big health insurance companies, not for the big oil companies, not for the Tea Party, but for them. And that really is the choice that we have in this election moving forward. I said it was about who writes the rules, whose rules, and to whose benefit do they go. We're at a crossroads. We are about to undertake a new federal budget. And Rob knows it as well as I do, the Ryan Plan, which my opponent has embraced and used as his own plan during the course of this entire campaign. And we know the choices that budget makes versus the choices that we're talking about. At a time when we are trying to drive down our nation's debt, there's a proposal there for an enormous new tax break for the very wealthy. According to the Tax Policy Center, an average of $265,000 per year for millionaires like Tommy Thompson. And how do they pay for it? According to the Joint Economic Committee, a $1,300 increase on middle class taxes. Plus, devastation of the priorities that we need to embrace if we're going to get our economy back at full throttle. Senator Kohl talked about the importance of education and not just lip service. We have to make it a priority. It doesn't mean spending more. It means making it a priority and looking at where else we can cut. Innovation and research, key to driving our economy forward. Infrastructure, key to moving our economy forward and making things again in this economy. You know, I don't have to tell an audience in Rock County that we make things in Wisconsin and we make things in Rock County. I also don't have to tell an audience in Rock County that manufacturing has taken a huge hit in recent years. We have to reverse that. It is a key part of a strong, thriving middle class. Key to reversing our trade deficit. But it's hard to do when other countries are cheating, which is why I introduced and got moved forward, wrapped into a larger trade bill, bipartisan legislation to combat the unfair trade practices in China, where they're directly subsidizing industries that are competing with U.S. industries, like the paper industry. Remember, we're the #1 manufacturer of paper in the state of Wisconsin, in the country. Wisconsin's the #1 manufacturer of paper in the country. China subsidized their paper industry to the tune of about $33 billion. $33 billion in recent years. If we don't have a level playing field, how can we compete? How can we compete? So we passed bipartisan legislation to give us the tools to fight that, to level the playing field, and we will absolutely compete. Because as I said, our workers are second to none. But it goes, who wrote those rules in the first place? Who let it get this way? The idea that we would have a tax system whereby people like Warren Buffett or Mitt Romney pay at lower tax rates than hardworking nurses and construction workers here in our state. It's unfair. I introduced the Buffett rule. We're trying to level the playing field. One set of rules that apply to all. In financial sector, Wall Street, Main Street, play by the same rules. On Medicare, and I just want to end on that, I think most of you know I was raised by my grandparents. My grandmother was Medicare eligible by the time I was just a teenager. My grandfather soon after. I got to see at a very young age the difference that Medicare and Social Security made to our family's economic security. It was very important. I regard those not just as programs, but as promises, and promises that we cannot break. Not on our watch. Not on our watch. Now, my opponent said to a Tea Party crowd earlier this summer that who better than him to do away with Medicare and Medicaid? And it wasn't just his words, which he's tried to run away from. He has the plan to back it up. It would replace traditional Medicare with a voucher and increase out-of-pocket expenses for our seniors. Again, we're at a crossroads. We have a stark choice. Now, I just want to finish with a couple action items and status of the race. So, there's been a few polls lately. Now, in my mind, the only poll that matters is the one that culminates on November 6th. But it shows some real encouraging news, some momentum in this U.S. Senate race. And we have an edge. We're in a narrow lead. Woo! Yeah. And we have 17 more days to keep that momentum going. 17 more days. On Monday, early voting starts. So that means from Monday, October 22nd through November 6th, every day is election day. Every day is election day, and we want to get as many early as we can. But as you are moved to be here and to be volunteering and to be committed to this effort, it's clearly because you understand what's at stake, you understand the importance. Believe it or not, there's still a handful of people out there, I don't know, maybe 5, 7%, that haven't made up their mind. They're busy. They're raising kids, they're working 2 jobs, they maybe have some aging parents to take care of. And they're just now making their mind up. And so what you do every day between now and November 6th is going to make the critical difference with those people. Telling them what's at stake. So I just wanted to end by thanking you for all you're doing, for being here this afternoon, but for everything that you're doing to bring it home. Bring it home. We're in the home stretch. We can do it. Thank you very much.